Hey guys, it's Gail making a video from my house so I can talk to y'all about a couple of things. What actually gave me the idea of making the video is I saw author Kathy Koopman's video regarding the release of the deliverance of Dylan, no less, right? Dylan, boo! No, just kidding, yay, congratulations, happy release for you, Kathy Koopmans. But anyways, this video is kind of a catch-up video with all of y'all because I have been offline for quite some time. Just basically making it to get a couple things off my chest, give you some information regarding From the Storm, that's book 2 in the Torn Heart series, regarding Ryder, Amber, and Brock's situation, and just basically all around what's going on in my life and the reason why there's a delay for the book. I'm just going to be open and honest like I always have with you guys. I think I've, from the beginning, especially y'all who have followed me from when my page was, 50 people strong to close to 50,000 stronger. I started writing Collide in summer of 2012, and as all the books that I had written before then, I had written it with no preconceived, thought that it was going to do anything more than to be read by followers that I had had on Fiction Press. When I had started sending it around to closer friends and family members, everybody was like, you really have something here. You have a following. You really should maybe just try to publish this bad boy. So with that, on a whim, after driving my husband crazy, filled with summers of no food, when he came home from work, children running amok throughout the neighborhood, my kids barely having a Christmas because I had, beg, borrowed, steal, money to get together for editing. I took the chance and went ahead and delivered Collide to all of y'all. And thank God I did, because it made a lot of women happy, internationally no less. I remember the first time seeing that Collide was being read in France. Somebody from Italy was reading Gavin. Just the amazing feelings that went through me. It was wonderful and petrifying all at once. But I kind of jumped into the game, again, head first, not knowing what I was doing. I got in touch with authors such as Tina Reber for help about, marketing. Shannon Stevens, S.C. Stevens Thoughtless, regarding word count, because I knew that the standard, romance book went up to 99,000 words, and I was, approaching that, and I really wasn't even, three-quarters of the way through the book. So, again, just jumping into the industry head first, going in with no preconceived notion that I was going to sell, 5 books, let alone over 500,000 books within the first couple of months that it was out. With that came craziness and happiness and fear and just emotions that, a stay-at-home mother from Pennsylvania couldn't grab her arms around at all. But after some time went by, I kind of not get used to it, but because you can never get used to what you go through as far as the feeling of, oh my God, these people are reading something that I wrote. Out of all the books out there in the world that these readers can be reading, they chose and picked my book. That feeling can never get old. And that summer it came and was coming, I'm a better writer, as you could tell. I'm not a public speaker by any means. But the summer was approaching. That was, Collide was published in January of 2013. So here was the summer coming up. It was the first year of Book Bash, and I was in the middle of editing Pulse. I had let out a release date of August 10th. Had said, it was going to be here for August 10th, and I actually delivered Pulse to everybody a full month before. So again, a big rush. I believe we had hit the publish button at 8 o'clock on the 8th of August, and here I woke up on the 8th of July, and here I woke up on the next morning sitting at the number 2 spot in all of Paid Kindle store. Come the afternoon, was sitting at number 1, stayed there for the next almost 3.5 weeks until, a cuckoo's calling. Until J.K. Rowling. Hello, J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter, knocks me out of the box. And I remember walking with my agent and being like, yo, that dude knocked me out of the first place box, and she's like, who better than J.K. Rowling? Anyways, you get where I'm going here. Again, a housewife from PA, getting knocked out of the first place, number 1 paid position on Kindle from J.K. Rowling. So, at the time the end of the Collide series is over, I think I'm in Vegas at that point for Dirty Mafia, first year of Dirty Mafia. Naughty Mafia, not Dirty Mafia. I always call it Dirty Mafia. Don't ask questions, but whatever. You all know, you were there, we all hung out. Anyway, and I'm sitting in the hotel with my husband after we were done gambling, and I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to beat Gavin? And with that, I started, kind of asking my girlfriends around me and family members, how am I going to beat Gavin? And, they gave a simple answer. And one at the time that I couldn't understand then, and I'm really kind of just starting to understand now. I don't have to beat Gavin. I just have to tell the next story in my brain. And believe me, there are many in my head. So, on that note, I wrote the prologue to Amber to Ashes. Came very quickly. Their story was in my brain, stuck in my head. And I began writing that book. At the time, I had finally given in, decided to sign with Atria, and, there started my publishing career. Out from indie into traditional publishing. That was a totally different game for me. Hereas where you're an indie author, you get to kind of make up your own rules, your own, just everything's all yours. Now you're essentially working for somebody. I don't work well under pressure that way. And we all kind of saw that because, here was Pulse in, July of 2013. Amber to Ashes was supposed to be out that following April of 2014. That comes and goes, nothing. I kept pushing the date back, pushing the date. Long story short, we get Amber to Ashes last year, June 9th. And, out now with the publisher, the price has changed. The time that was in between books, and I remember my publisher saying that, I was going to kind of get, lost in the sea of authors out there. And at the time, from 2013 to 2016, where we are now, my God, we have seen, the growth in authors expand 100-fold. So with the pressures of being under a publisher, my mind wrapped around, how am I going to beat this, book boyfriend that, charmed so many women, with just a lot of different emotions going. Um, I put, Amber to Ashes out. Didn't think it was going to do well. It did okay for publishing. It almost broke the top 100, which wasn't bad. It was on pre-order for 15 months, but after that happened, and I think a little before, I started losing some of my, you know, believing in myself, uh, and not really that I ever did, because, you're talking to somebody who, if I could be told I wrote the best line in the world, I'm not going to see it that way. I don't think any author can. I think that um, we all are our own worst critics, as they say. I think that most, you know, um, artists to begin with are. And I fell into that, where everything I was writing, I was no longer writing based on what the characters were telling me to write. I was writing based on, you know, what I thought would appeal to the reader. I eventually turned in the manuscript. I want to say there was about 7 or 8 chapters of Amber to Ashes complete when I had turned it over to a couple of beta readers. Um, and, they shot me down. They told me that, basically that the story was no good, that, I needed to get back to work and tell this story. And with that came the Amber to Ashes that you came to see, where, I do put in the acknowledgments that about 80-85% of the book is true life experiences that I've went through. Some of them from when I was a teenager, some of them from in my married life. Dribs and drabs of the story are taken from, pieces of my sister's life. Um, Working on From the Storm has really broken my back mentally, and for a few reasons. Again, going back to, I think, being out of the game for so long now. It's been a year since Amber to Ashes released. So From the Storm should have been long delivered to all of you. And I want to say I'm sorry, but I can't say I'm sorry, because, there's a couple of reasons. You're going to have every writer that writes at their own pace. You're going to have every cook that cooks at their own pace. Every mechanic that works on a car or truck at their own pace. With this particular series, for the reasons I've given you and more to come, it's just been a harder book to write. Whereas Collide and Pulse weren't. I wasn't writing under as much stress with Collide. I was definitely writing under that stress with Pulse, but circumstances, I think, in the industry were a little different too. But going back to From the Storm being, delivered, late, September of 2014, I've dealt with depression my whole life, my entire life, since I was like 9 years old. I think it stems from my childhood upbringing that I've shared with all of y'all, regarding my father, abusing my mother. I went from living in, Baptist Texas, moving to New York. 2 different scenarios, kind of going from green, lush fields to literally the jungle. So I had fallen into depression very early on, dealt with it in my adulthood, and it was kind of silent for the past couple of years. And last year, after losing my brother-in-law, may he rest in peace, Chris, he was kind of my partner in crime. I'd be down here writing, and I'd ask him a question regarding something, or have him read over something, and he would look over it. So he had passed away in July of last year, and come September or October, I'd fallen into one of the worst depressions I've ever seen, and I'm just kind of coming out of that fog. Um, in January, my husband was hit with, we had found four or five blockages in his chest area. He had to undergo quadruple bypass. I've known for a couple of years that my oldest son was going off to the Army. That year's here. He graduates in June. So we've kind of been busy with that right now, getting ready for his graduation and stuff. But, what I'm trying to get at is that I'm sorry that the book has taken so long to come out, but I'm not. Because what's been happening in the last year has been, I've been trying to live my life and trying to get through my life the way that, it kind of turned out. So, it's coming. I'm almost afraid to say a date, because then it holds me to that, and I never know what's going to pop up, but I also do know it's going to make me accountable. So the same way that I went ahead and released a date for Pulse, I'm going to go ahead and release a date for From the Storm. From the Storm, the rest of Ryder, Amber, and Brock's story will come to you no later than October 10th of 2016. I can hear it now. What? Oh, that's still another 5.5 more months. Before I know it, I'm going to forget the book. Well, all I can hope is that you reread, to refreshen your memories. Keep in mind that not only myself, but all of your writers out there were and are still readers. I know what it is to have to wait for a second and third and fourth and fifth book. Not naming any names. Not that it's near any caliber of that book, but I know what it is to have to wait. If you truly loved Ryder, Amber, and Brock's story, I think it's not going to matter to you, because their story is here, and you're just not going to forget about it, and you're not, that book's going to release, and you're going to buy it. If you're somewhat curious, you're like, cool, all right, we got a date before October 10th. I'll go ahead and reread, and if you didn't like the book, then you don't care about this message anyway. So, but, again, I just want to, just make the point that I was trying to find myself within this industry. Like, I was very firm on who I was before coming into this industry. And that was, Gail McHugh, who did half of her growing up in San Antonio, Texas, the other half in Lindenhurst, New York. Shout out, Lindy. I was the wife of Joe McHugh, the mother of Joseph, Ava, and Matthew McHugh. I was a stay-at-home mom. I attended soccer games. We partied on the weekends with our friends and stuff. And I jumped into this industry, and I was like, wow, who am I? And whoa, wow, I can't believe these women, like my writing and love my characters, and I get stuff in the mail. I never got stuff in the mail but bills. My husband has to go up to the P.O. box several times a month to get stuff out. Gifts and cards. Just, it amazes me, and it's humbling, and it's scary. It's still scary, all at once, because again, I'm a conduit to, Amber to Ashes and From the Storm. Yes, they're part of me because some of my background story, but from Collide until the last book I write, The last book I write could be From the Storm, it could be 50 books from now. I don't know. But I'm still a conduit to a story, to fictional characters who would otherwise be unknown. I say it all the time, we all are. And, you know, not that I'm finding myself in the industry, I think I just kind of know that I need to just tell the story. Whether or not that's a happy ending, whether or not it's a sad ending, whether or not it has tons of sex, whether or not it has no sex in it. Um, you know, Whatever it is, I just know I have to tell that story. Um, the promise that I can try to make to y'all is after I come out with From the Storm, is I do want to write faster. And I do write faster. You've all seen me write faster. This time around, I was in this story too long. I've been in it too long. Um, there's been some rewrites done on it. Different things, again, on top of my depression, on top of my husband's surgery, on top of trying to raise children, on top of the loss of my brother-in-law. There's been other different things. I've got the story where I kind of want it right now. It's leading in the right direction. I could definitely tell you that, I'm using October 10th as the furthest example to give myself some time that I may or may not need. Um, you know, the book's almost done. I am kind of, I think, pushing it out a little further than I needed to, but if that's what I need to do in order to make sure that this story is done the right way and I feel good about it going out, I have to do that. And that's a service to both myself and to all of you out there. Again, I can't please everybody. Unfortunately, I have a problem thinking I can, but I know I can't. And, but the least that I can do is try. And that's about it. Um, just from being offline for the last couple of months, Happy New Year, Happy Valentine's Day, Happy St. Patty's Day, more recently, Happy Mother's Day. I still have a good 65 to 70 messages to go through, and most of these are now that were written in September, October, November of last year, because as the day goes by and you get a message, they kind of get pushed down. So I'm getting through my email list. You will see more of me online, just slowly. I'm just trying to get back into the groove of things. But again, more importantly, From the Storm will be out soon. After that, like I've said a million times, I am going to give you another Gavin book. I think we're going to see Emily and Gavin's wedding, because so many of you from all around the world have asked for that. So I think I'm going to dip my feet into their wedding, and then possibly from there go into Olivia's story or Trevor and Fallon's story. I have a book slated to come out next year with another author. I'm not going to let you know who it is, but when I tell you, we're going to work magic. I know this book, you guys think Collide and Pulse made me. I know this book with this author that I'm going to co-write is going to be the book that I'm remembered for. But that's about it. I appreciate from the bottom of my heart your patience, your support, your letters, your gifts. And for those, and you know who you are out there, who want to leave messages on my author wall, that I've done this on purpose, just to drag out the story and keep my readers on their toes. That authors like me get off on this because, it excites us or whatever. You will be banned from my wall, like you have, and again, you know who you are. No, that's not why From the Storm took as long as it has. It took as long as it did for the reasons that I listed, and not that I had to give you that reason. And again, I'm kind of zeroing this into one person right now, so anyone out there, that might be taking offense to this, if you are taking offense to it, it's because you've left something nasty on my wall. But more recently, I had received a very long post on my wall stating that I wrote the book and I've left the readers hanging, and that, I used to be her favorite author, and who am I to think, who I am to do this to readers, and, kind of how dare I, and again, I don't need to list those reasons. I have, excuse me, and no author does that on purpose. My advice to the girl who wrote that, and again, I'll say it again so it doesn't get misconstrued throughout the community. You know who you are. Go read another book in between, because there are, excuse me, there are millions of them out there. So, if you love the story so much, you're going to wait for October. If you have wound up seeing my message somehow on your newsfeed, and my post has, pissed you off, and you've decided that you're not going to pick up my book now, and you're not going to read it, all I can say is that sucks for you, because it's a really good book. So, but, that's all I have. I love each and all of you out there, and again, I think the more of you, that have been supportive of me, and for all the other authors out there that do write series and might take a while, the ones that do, cheerlead us on no matter what. Just thank you. Thank you for your patience and understanding, and knowing that we too are women with families and households to run, and children, and some of us aren't married, but we have full-time jobs, and all just the different things that go with life and being a woman in general. Thank you all for being very supportive, and boo to those of you who aren't. With that, peace out. Love you guys.